President Muhammadu Buhari receives progress report on Chibok girls with concerted efforts in advancing their development and 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in earnest, discussion on challenges and programs in Nigeria to address violence against women, plus correspondent looks at modern-day slavery, impact and way out. These and more on today's NTA Panorama. I am Kene Ima Abudike. President Muhammadu Buhari has renewed his commitment to bring back all Chibok girls held by terrorists in the northeast using all possible means. The president made this known while appreciating progress made in the rehabilitation of the 106 freed girls now back in school. The report.
The president, who was reviewing the progress report submitted to him in line with his commitment to personally monitor the rehabilitation and reintegration into society of the freed Chibok girls, also gave assurances that government will provide full support for their education. In line with it, the president has approved payment of the sum of 164 million naira for the second semester school fees of the 106 Chibok girls at the American University of Nigeria in Yola. According to the progress report received by the president, the decision to pursue avenues in addition to military action to free the abducted girls is in the resolve to protect the lives of all Nigerians, to end the insurgency in the northeast of the country, and to fulfill one of the campaign promises of the president. In line with this, the federal government entered into negotiations with the Boko Haram terrorist group for the release of the Chibok girls who were kidnapped from their school dormitory on the night of April 14, 2014. So far, 2 batches of 21 and 82 girls have been freed as a result of those negotiations. 3 additional girls were rescued by the gallant efforts of the armed forces, bringing the total number of freed Chibok girls so far to 106. As a result of their experiences while in captivity, the freed girls were severely traumatized and affected by various ailments and injuries, hence they were taken to secure medical centers for attention. They also went through debriefing and de-radicalization by security operatives, after which the girls were handed over to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development was assigned the main role of supervising the rehabilitation and reintegration of the girls back into the society. Long before the girls were released, the federal government had established the Chibok Girls Desk in the ministry, responsible for acting on matters relating to the abducted Chibok schoolgirls and serving as a channel of communication between relevant agencies, the parents and relatives of the abducted girls. A statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the government, through the Ministry of Women Affairs and in collaboration with the United Nations Funds for Population Activities, UN Women and other donor agencies, embarked on programs earmarked to facilitate the rehabilitation and reintegration of the Chibok girls with a 9-month time frame. The absorption of the 106 girls into the school marked the beginning of their integration into the larger Nigerian society, thus fulfilling President Buhari's promise of providing the best education for them. Although they have been officially handed over to their parents, the federal government says it will continue to be responsible for the payment of the Chibok girls' school fees right up to their graduation from the school. In Abuja, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
25th of November every year is celebrated as International Day to End Violence Against Women and Girls, to raise awareness and mobilize people to bring about desired change. Basi Etaiba reports that this year's celebration had a little twist, as people say there should be an outright cry to stop violence against men alongside women and girls.
Girls is said to be one of the devastating human rights violations in the world. Records show that 19% of women between age of 15 to 49 experience physical, emotional, or sexual violence from intimate partners. The International Day is aimed at creating awareness and advocacy on putting an end to the menace.
We condemn child abuse, we condemn violence against the girl's child. And that's why if a child is properly educated and well-groomed, she will know her rights. Nobody will be able to bastardize her.
There are lots of factors that contribute to the heightened rate of violence against women and girls. There might have been a time that he may have raised his hands and, he will remember or recall himself, and then he will drop it. These are the signs. And then he will shout at you. These are the signs. He gets easily irritated. These are the signs. He doesn't, when he's not responsible, these are the signs.
The 2017 theme is End Violence Against Women and Girls, Leave No One Behind, with a color of orange to reinforce commitment to the world free from violence for all women and girls.
And mothers should learn to drag their children closer to themselves so that we can reduce these cases of violence, molestation, and what have you.
NTA International joined in the campaign to end violence against women and girls, led by the General Manager, Abdurrahman Ibn Muhammad.
Women are mothers, they are wives, they are daughters. In fact, I like to moderate my own slogan for the campaign. End violence in all its ramifications.
Leave no one behind. The orange color United Nations says symbolizes a brighter future and a violence-free world. In Abuja, Basi Taikba, NTA News.
Global attention is focused on elimination of violence against women, which kick-started with the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women that runs to the 10th of December, known as 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. Challenges facing women include domestic violence, human trafficking, and rape. There are, however, legal framework like the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act that deals with offenders. There are much more, especially with programs to tackle poverty seen as violence against women. Now I have with me Halima Usman, an activist, writer and poet, to tell us more. Halima, welcome to NTA Panorama.
Thank you for having me.
Now, reports indicate there is a rise of on violence against women. What could be responsible for this?
Well, so many things can be attributed to this, which include poverty, unemployment or lack of sufficient employment, and so many things can lead to this. Now when you talk about unemployment, when somebody is unemployed, there's poverty issues, you begin to think any little thing makes you aggravated, any little things make a person angry. So these are some of the things that result in a family. Probably you don't have money to feed the family or something, and a woman asks you for money, and some issues, before you know it, it becomes the man becomes aggressive. So these are some of the little things I'm sure that is causing most of this rise in violence.
Okay, so as the international community dedicates days to activism starting from 25th November to gender-based violence, so what areas should we likely be looking at?
Well, basically, the change, violence against persons is all about the change in attitude. It's all about reorientation. Is all about personal mindset. So what we are trying to do within this period is that there will be a lot of sensitization, and of course, like I said initially, it has to do with poverty. So there is going to be issues of empowerment, because these are critical matters. When people are empowered, when people can stand on their feet, when people can feed their family easily, all of these things will be at the barest minimum. So within this period, there's going to be a lot of sensitization on the need for people to have self-control, the need for people to have restraint. We always tell people that when you are angry, when you are tensed, you don't need to stay where you are. Find a place to go, cool off, and sit down and rethink the process. So there is a lot of campaign, a lot of sensitization, and a lot of empowerment projects going on.
Are you narrowing it down to only the family?
Well, no. Gender is violence against gender. Now, I need to say one thing here. When we talk about violence, gender issue,
because there are violence also outside the family.
That's where I'm even going to. And when we talk about it in the first place, it's not just the issue of violence against women only, but also there are issues of violence against men. There are women that also violate men. So it has extended from the family level, and if we look at it, the cradle of the society is the family. That is why the family must be addressed first before it extends anywhere. So it has to start from the family, but then there are issues of gender violence against persons outside the family, in the offices and everywhere, of course, and that is why the campaign must reach the offices, must reach the market square, must reach anywhere that every person is doing his daily activities. So how would you describe Nigeria's efforts at tackling violence or even eliminating violence against women and girls? Well, I think in fairness to the government, they are really trying. Especially with the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which was passed in 2015 here in Abuja, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Initially, we have this in at international level, but this is being domesticated now, and I'm glad that it's starting from the federal capital, because charity begins at home. You cannot tell people do this and you don't start. So with the government taking the bull by the head, with the federal government starting by domesticating this VAB law act, I think it's a step in the right direction. And again, if you look at the advantage of the VAB, it's not just for women, but for anybody that is violated. Anybody's right. It's all about human rights. So violence against women, gender-based violence is violence against humanity. So I think the government is taking it serious, because once a people is violated, that means the nation is violated. So taking this a step further by enacting an act that stops violence, that brings about serious sanction, because of course one of our major challenges is that sanctions are not being in place when somebody does something wrong. So people can always get away with it. But with this act, people now know, and especially once it is being strictly implemented, people will know that you cannot go away when you violate any other person's right, whether you're a husband or a wife, whoever, whatever, and again, whether you're a father to a child or a mother to a child. Well, now, the act you're talking about is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. Yes. Right now in Abuja, it appears to be operational. Yes. And it is unique. You will agree with me. That's true. So how will other states buy into its implementation? Because it's not just in Abuja that some of these violences are recorded. Yes, in fact, if we look at it critically, violence, it can even be said that there is more violence at the minute level, that's in the villages where you least expect, but it's there. So I think it's important. This has to do with a lot of sensitization. A lot of workshops has to be organized where states are being informed on the importance of adopting these acts at the state level. So this is very, very important, because of course, like you made mention, it is very unique in its operation, and of course it is addressing the Nigerian system. We are tired of bringing laws or adopting laws that are just not that do not really fit to our system, but this particular law act fits to our system. So it is important that the state governments, through sensitization, through talks, through advocacy, and especially other NGOs, groups, can begin to make a lot of noise about this at the state level, and that is the only way we can have states to know what this act is all about and find a way of domesticating it. You will also agree with us that the victims themselves, not just women now, but even the men are becoming victims of violence. Of course, yes. So what is in place to make them break the silence? I think the most important thing is all about education. If a person is not educated, you are timid, and that is why it is easy for somebody to breach your rights, to violate you, and you can't say anything. So I think basically the emphasis, especially these days, we see our emirs, our local traditional rulers are coming out en masse to talk about education. I think is the is your education. Had a program
especially
slave market. Long way home. So that
we pause for some messages. NTA Panorama continues in a short while.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Thanks for staying with us on NTA Panorama. For many decades, rail transportation has captured a unique ambience as mass movement of passengers and goods with the reputation of impacting on the social well-being and economic empowerment of many Nigerian towns and villages relate to the trains and train stations. With the challenges of decay over time and government's vision to overcome them, Hamza Musa Makarefi went to some train stations in the corridors of Nasarawa State and interacts with the people.
This is the Gudi railway station in Nasarawa State, hundreds of kilometers along the Port Harcourt and the eastern axis of railway line to the far north. Like others along the route, Gudi back in the days radiated an aura in stimulating the economy and brought about unity of purpose among community of people doing business in the area. The frequency of train movement through the station has now decreased. The last stopover was in March this year. However, the people are optimistic about the return of frequent train movement. Southwards linking Gudi is the Langalanga train station on the way to Lafia. It is another hub of agricultural activities and has a quarry reputed as the biggest in Nigeria. The rail track of the corridor has also been fully upgraded as people also have high hopes things will get better soon. But while they are optimistic about ongoing efforts by the government to change the situation, the memories 47 years ago of the famous Langalanga Bend train accident cannot be easily forgotten. People in hundreds lost their lives.
It has really been very long, but at the scene are some of the remnants of coaches from that famous accident.
Some of our parents that are inside the train, some of them are still alive.
Patrick Mesamari-Saku, 75 years old, survived the crash and has an excellent memory of what happened.
Anything that God have done, you can never ask God, say, why you do this?
He says government should give more attention to revamping the fortunes of rail transportation because of its impact on the common man. His appeal appears to have the weighty voice of authorities in Nasarawa and Benue states who are pushing for the plugging off of a daily train service between Makadi and Kafanchan to boost the local economy and interactions among the people. Findings show there are 16 stations from Makadi to Kafanchan, and with presidential commitments, it will just be a matter of time. The dream becomes a reality.
In the wake of lingering security challenges in recent times in the state, Adamawa State Government has organized a town hall meeting to tackle the security issues. Rayano Bala reports.
The town hall meeting for the northern senatorial zone of the state involved security agents and all the traditional rulers in the region to come up with workable solutions to the security challenges. Governor Muhammad Umar Jibrilla at the meeting said, security is everybody's business, hence people should be engaged in community policing. He reiterated government's commitment to provide necessary security measures to restore peace and stability in all areas affected by either insurgency or communal clashes in the state. The Commander 23 Brigade of the Nigerian Army Yola, Brigadier General Bello Abdullahi Muhammad, appealed to the citizens to always provide useful information to the security agents for the safety and security of their areas.
And they threw some information that are very vital. These information will be processed into intelligence, and I will assure you that the first set of point of reference that your judicial commission will lay hands on will be the result of this.
Various community leaders in the region called on the federal government to provide more troops in the areas where insurgency is rearing its ugly head. A similar town hall meeting was organized for local governments experiencing farmers' herdsmen clashes, where stakeholders discussed extensively on ways to bring to an end the clashes. In Yola, Rayanu Bala, NTA News.
Now sport. Delta State wins Karate Open in Abuja as Athletics Federation of Nigeria commences preparations for Commonwealth Games with all comers in Abuja. Amanze Marcus